Your career is intersected with so many iconic artists, obviously. Let's talk about interviewing Paul and Linda McCartney, George Harrison, and George Martin. What was that like?
Well, they were all super cool and made possible thanks to the RKO radio network. Going to London for my very first time to meet up with Paul and Linda and their latest lineup of Wings in June 1979 was great. And talking with George Harrison in December 78 about his recent marriage to Olivia and becoming the father of Danny, that was terrific too. And my time spent with producer George Martin at my radio station, KFRC AM in San Francisco, was so complimentary. He told me he loved the Beatles radio show I'd written and co produced.
Yeah, that's so cool. And the Beatles radio specials, 14 hours expanded to 17 hours. Tell me how that project came together and what made it so groundbreaking.
Well, I was hired to write RKO Presents the Beatles when I first got my full time KFRC radio job in the newsroom. And I had to do lots of research, writing, and producing for the longest Beatles show ever created in our country. And it was so popular when it aired, it got expanded to 17 hours from 14 and syndicated to play around the world and use the time I'd originally come up with. Excuse me, use the name I'd originally come up with. The Beatles from Liverpool to Legend.
Perfect. George Martin even told you it was the best Beatles special he'd ever heard. How did that feel hearing that kind of praise from such a legend?
Totally awesome. He autographed his book for me, too. All You Need Is Ears, his biography, as a true lover of my radio special, and told me he'd listened to my 17-hour Beatles show twice in England. Wow.
Wow, commitment of time there and to be so highly commended. That's awesome. So your interview with John Lennon ended just hours before his assassination, a day you've described as both the best and worst of your life. Can you share what that experience was like even now, almost 45 years later?
Well, our lengthy multi-hour interview at the Dakota with John Lennon and Yoko Ono was incredible and super friendly. But finding out John was shot and killed mere hours after it ended made it horrifying for me. We'd taken a cool photo together and made plans to meet up again soon in San Francisco, which, of course, tragically couldn't happen because Sean was assassinated.
So you've mentioned being accosted and bugged by the man who would later be identified as Lennon's assassin. That's obviously unimaginable and terrifying. How did that impact you personally and professionally?
Well, that kept me really feeling horrible because that creep rudely confronted and followed me when I left the Dakota after our interview and kept bugging me until I finally got rid of him. I should have reported him to the Dakota security team, and I felt guilty for nearly 45 years ever since for not doing so. I never say or print his name either because he doesn't deserve any publicity or ever being paroled from prison.
So when you wrote your book, how did you navigate sharing such intense personal moments while respecting privacy and safety concerns?
Good question. I included as much as I felt comfortable with and remembered well. Plus, I asked some folks if they felt okay about me writing about them. And thank goodness they all did.
So what inspired you to write Confessions of a Rock and Roll Name Dropper at this point in your life?
Well, I always wanted to because I felt encouraged by John Lennon, who told me he'd loved getting books autographed by people. Um, well, I